and welcome to another segment of Western Wisconsin Journal. I'm Jamie Johnson, the political and government correspondent. And today we have almost a record as far as the number of guests on in an interview. And we're doing this via Zoom with people in different locations. And this is regarding the upcoming event that's going to happen this Saturday from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Camp Saint Croix, the RCU Center. And there will be a whole segment on protecting our water and growing our future. So I'm going to turn over at this time to Kim Dupre. Kim, why don't you introduce yourself, what your role is in regard to this event, and then introduce the others that are on here as well. Okay?
All right. Thank you, Jamie. Kim Dupre. I am a member of Saint Croix Cures as well as Emerald Clean Water for All. And we, myself and Virginia Draft, were one of the original organizers of this event about 2017, I guess was the first one that we held. Held another one in 2023, and now we're holding a third one here in 2025. And we've been passionate about educating residents, especially rural residents, about their water quality, their groundwater, their drinking water, and to understand the threats to that and to be sure and test it and protect themselves and their families. So I will introduce Dr. Sue Curtis, who's also Saint Croix Cures, our president, I guess, is the official term. And Dr. Steve Oberly is one of our consultants who's helped us for many years. Marianne Wise is a member of the Maiden Rock Township Board who has done some operational ordinances to help protect their local groundwater. Tara Greiman is from Wisconsin Farmers Union, and she is the statewide conservation director, and also Wisconsin Farmers Union is one of the sponsors of our event, along with the City of Hudson and the St. Croix Valley Foundation. Is there anybody else that I missed on the call here? Let's see. Oh, Sonia Ayers, there she is. I see her now. Sonia Traum Ayers is also one of our authors of Dodge County Inc., and she will be speaking at our conference and with bringing her personal story from Southeast Minnesota in similar karst country that we have in St. Croix County.
All right. So let's, the last person you introduced, Sonia, can you say hi? Sonia?
Hi, nice to meet all of you.
Hi.
All right. And you were just introduced as an author, and you've had several organizations that involve socially responsible agriculture, land stewardship. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got involved in that, how long you've been involved in that?
So I grew up on our family farm in Dodge County, Minnesota. That's in southeastern Minnesota. We're not too far from Rochester. And my family's been on the front lines actually for probably at least 3 decades, fighting corporate agriculture and the installation of large factory farms. And I actually jumped in with both feet a little over 10 years ago. My elderly parents brought 3 separate lawsuits against Dodge County officials and members of the swine industry to fight installation of yet another swine factory farm. Today we have 12 swine factory farms in a 3-mile radius of our farm, and I'm actively involved in the management of that farm. I'm an attorney in Minneapolis, but I also assist with the management and operation of our farm. But this is a story that a friend encouraged me to tell the story because no one has told the story about working on the front lines, fighting corporate agriculture. And so I tell people this is not just my story, this is our story, because there are hundreds, probably thousands of farm families like mine who have been directly impacted by big ag and the installation of these large corporate factory farms.
All right. And another term for the corporate farms, factory farm, is concentrated animal feeding operations, or CAFO. Is that correct?
That's correct. And these are usually In the hog industry, these are usually kind of cookie cutter. They're 2,400 hogs. The reason they're kind of cookie cutter, they avoid environmental review. So the industry knows how to play the game. But with respect to dairy operations, the size of these dairy operations is getting bigger and bigger. And I know that Western Wisconsin is coping with the installation of a huge dairy operation, but the same thing is happening in the Dakotas. 12,500 cows that are proposed in one facility, a second one, 25,000 dairy cows. I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous. But what people, what we lose sight of is we have lost thousands and thousands of independent farmers over the past few decades. And all you have to do is look at these, small towns in these areas. They're dead, they're dying. Schools are consolidating, churches are closing. You see abandoned farm places. And this is the impact of big ag on rural America.
All right. Now I think our producer will put this up. I don't know. I was given this map that shows all the operations in Wisconsin that require permits. So I'm assuming they have to hit a certain size. This map is as of January of 2023, so it's a couple years behind, but it looks like Western Wisconsin does have quite a few of these. Some are circles, which are CFOs, and then the triangle is Jennie-O turkey factories, I guess. And these are large enough to require state permits. Now, are there others on the panel that can speak? I am curious, Ms. Griman, you represent the National Farmers Union and a sponsor for this program. And how does that sponsorship fit with, some of the subject of these CAFOs?
Yeah, thank you for asking. Just a clarification, I'm with the Wisconsin Farmers Union. We do have a national farmers union, but I represent the Wisconsin Farmers Union, who
Okay.
Our policy is fully created by our members across the state at our annual convention. We at the Farmers Union are not opposed to CAFOs in general. However, we do find that the expansion of farming has been particularly problematic for many farmers, and it's really, really hard for small scale farmers to compete in the current consolidated landscape. So it's really part of the Wisconsin Farmers Union bread and butter to ensure that we're creating a agricultural industry that uplifts all types of farms and ensures that they are all being protected, represented in the marketplace as an even playing field. Currently, we're not really seeing that. Also, within our policy, our members really, really feel strongly that stewardship and water protection should be braided into agriculture, and our members feel that education on water quality initiatives and water quality protections, best management practices that farms can practice is inherent to being a responsible farmer. So because of that, we've been really supportive of educational initiatives where we can uplift community power and ensure that communities are growing the types of towns that they want to be in.
Now, I understand one of the speakers at the event will be folks from St. Croix County that have been doing nitrate level testing and also provide some information on impaired water lists. So we've got both of those maps that our producer will put up. And Dr. Oberle, can you talk about the relationship between these CAFOs and certain practices? Again, we're generalizing a bit, but what is the relationship between that and some of our waterways in this area, like the St. Croix River, being considered impaired waters list, as well as the rather alarming high level of nitrate levels in St. Croix County, Pierce County, and Dunn County, and looks like Buffalo, or Pepin, I'm sorry, Pepin County.
Well, thank you for your question, Jamie. It's a pleasure to meet you and meet everybody on the panel. I think the way I would address your question is by looking at one of the first things I review when I review these issues surrounding these large livestock farms here in Wisconsin is what's the ratio of the number of spreadable acres now that they're using with the farm to the number of animal units? And because I have a pretty long history of working with farmers of all sizes, all different livestock types, I can tell you that in general, we like to see, and this is to be sustainable, both economically and environmentally, we like to see about 3 to 4, in some cases even a little more, 3 to 4 spreadable acres per animal unit. And I can share with you an example of a hog farm that we just reviewed down in Saint Croix County. And I bring that up because that to me now has been the lowest number of that ratio, that spreadable acre to animal unit that I've seen. And that's a good indicator that that's not only a sustainable operation, but there's all kinds of issues with regards to water quality and that sort of thing that come into it. That particular hog farm now is right around 0.3 to zero point 0.4 spreadable acres per animal unit. And when I tell people that, one interesting thing came out at a meeting. The guy said, well, that's like having a cow in my backyard, and how long can you sustain that? Well, that was a pretty good way of looking at it. But what that translates to, Jamie, and what I'm going to try and emphasize in my presentation is you're basically in a situation where the farmers, a lot of the large livestock farms now, not only here in Wisconsin, but around the country, are basically using the land as a means of waste disposal. And what ends up happening is we're particularly concerned about phosphorus loading on these fields with regards to surface water quality. And we're seeing just excessively high levels of phosphorus on these fields. And what we've also been seeing in the past several years is there's a correlation between the phosphorus levels on these fields and the nitrate levels that we're seeing in nearby and down gradient wells, because it's a good bet that if they're over applying phosphorus, which again is a surface water concern, they're also over applying nitrogen. And some of that nitrogen is ending up in the groundwater, which is a really serious issue, because it's not only water quality we're talking about public health and safety.
Yes. Well, you're talking to an old farm boy. I was raised on a small farm in southern Wisconsin, and you're right. Back in the 70s, the model was 50 cows and 200 acres. You could raise cows. You'd probably have to rent some more land, maybe as much as 400 acres for the crops to feed those. But yeah, that ratio has been flipped, and now these operations are much larger than 50 cows. And you can start adding 2 zeros behind them, and they're not adding that much more land when we're talking about it. So they're bringing in the feed, and you got to concentrate. And you're right, they produce waste. It's got to go somewhere. And so thank you for tying that into the nitrate levels. And why is this such an important issue? And I'm opening this up to Dr. Oberle or anyone else on the panel as to why should people be concerned, besides the fact that recently 37% of tested wells in a study that was done over by Baldwin have come up with nitrate levels that exceed that 10 milligrams per liter. Why is that harmful? And also focus on the difference between surface water contamination and groundwater.
Well, one of the reasons why nitrate is such an issue, Jamie, is that we use nitrate in groundwater as an environmental indicator. And what that basically means is if you have an elevated nitrate level in your well and in your groundwater, in Wisconsin, that would be probably anything over 2 parts per million nitrate. What we can safely say then is that well has been contaminated by human activity because it's above a natural level. And what we can also say is, as an environmental indicator, if there's nitrate in your well, that tells us that there's a pathway for other chemicals to get into your well, other chemicals that you may not even be testing for, that you can't smell, you can't taste. And so nitrate as an environmental indicator tells us, well, we better be concerned about what else is going on in the recharge area for that well, because there may be other chemicals that we need to be concerned about. And
Once the groundwater is once the groundwater is contaminated, is there any way of going back? I mean, do people have to put filters, or do they have to just use their water for gray water and have to buy their drinking water? I know there are people that do that in St. Croix County.
It depends on the actual contaminant. I've had some cases where instead of nitrate, we're talking about arsenic, and then you have a really serious problem. But I guess in the case of nitrate, in most cases, you can treat it for your drinking water. But again, as an indicator, I would be concerned about other things. The other thing that I can say to address your question is it's not really until you do some routine well testing, either with public wells or with a private well, that you detect these things. And by then it's too late. The groundwater has been contaminated. So one of the big messages I want to send to the folks there at the forum is the old quote by Ben Franklin comes in really handy when it comes to water quality. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. It's
Thank you.
better to
And
keep it out in the first place.
yes, and thank you for emphasizing that's what this is about, is prevention. Because people can say, well, we tested, we don't have any problem yet, so let's just keep on issuing these licenses, permits for these large units. I'll go back to the other members of the panel. Anybody have they been able to develop some kind of link between the presence of these CAFOs and abnormally high what's the word, impaired waterways?
If I could interject, there are other concerns directly with nitrate contamination. Colorectal cancer rates are considered high risk when you are drinking contaminated water with nitrates. Also, pregnant and nursing mothers and infants should not be drinking water with high nitrates, particularly because of concerns over blue baby syndrome and fetal poor development in general. So there are direct health concerns as well, aside from the other concerns about correlated chemical analysis. So there are some concerns there as well. One thing that is really important to note is many people do want to blame CAFO and manure spreading for high nitrates, but what we are finding is actually that corn, being such a nitrate heavy crop, and as we are growing more and more corn with less and less pasture, as our small dairies are leaving and our more consolidated dairies are coming, that we have fewer cattle on pasture, less hay in rotation, and more corn being grown. And because corn requires very high levels of nitrogen fertilizer at a pretty low efficiency, so they do leave a lot out on the field, even if the farmer is using recommended rates. And that leaves a lot of nitrogen that can then become nitrate in the groundwater. So while we don't necessarily have hotspots around CAFOs, we do find that fields and territories that have fields of corn on corn on corn on corn, over time, we are seeing higher levels of nitrate, according to St. Croix County, associated with that.
Well, and thank you for bringing that up, because we on the western end of St. Croix County, we don't have farms. We don't have big operations, whether pig or dairy, but we do have people that like the lush green lawns. I won't name brands of fertilizer, but we have literally tons of phosphorus that's being poured into the St. Croix River. And so this is not just a rural issue, is it?
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody who manages any landscape should be really thoughtful and considerate of the amount of nutrient that they're putting out, because the fact of the matter is it does not all get taken up and it doesn't stay exactly where you put it.
All right.
Jamie, if
Yes.
I may, in Dodge County, Minnesota, on the north end of the county, we have karst topography. And over 20 years ago, the neighbors on that end of the county, which is where my husband grew up, they fought installation of a large hog gestational facility. Dodge County approved it because Dodge County has never denied a permit to a CAFO. And now, here we are, nearly 25 years later, and the locals refer to that same road as Cancer Road because every single family, including my mother-in-law, who their farm was just a mile south of Cancer Road, has had cancer. And these are multiple family members per family along that Cancer Road. This morning, I did an event with Dr. Chris Jones, who's going to be present at the event. And he's from the state of Iowa. Iowa's #1 in chicken production, #2 in hog production, and I'm sorry, #1 in chickens and hogs, and they're #2 in the nation in the number of cancer incidents. They have such a serious problem in Iowa with high nitrates, and we certainly don't want Wisconsin to become the next Iowa.
All right. Well, thank you for bringing that home. I know that there's lots of families that cancer is a big issue, and they have tied that to nitrate levels. Is that right?
Yes, in fact, one of the first people that broke the story was Keith Schneider, and Keith is a former New York Times journalist. He currently writes for a publication called The New Lead, LEDE, and the stories that are coming out in Iowa about high nitrates have now reached kind of a pitch level and are getting a lot of national attention actually because of the high nitrates and the problems with cancer. So, yeah.
Well, yeah, and so and this is not something that is far off as far as um, impaired waterways. We're talking about the Willow River, Saint Croix River, the Ogali River, Apple Lake, Malibu Lake. These are places that have elevated pH or excess algae growth, and that's showing signs of impairment. I'm sure that's going to be discussed at this forum. Can somebody else bring in any other perspectives that will be brought out at the forum, and what other kind of information folks who attend? Again, I want to emphasize this event is this Saturday, October 4th, out at Camp Saint Croix from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. And folks can come. They don't have to stay for the full 5 hours, but you've got speakers throughout that time. Is that right, Sue?
Yes, that's correct. Thank you. St. Croix Watershed Clean Food and Water Forum. We've got an agenda that looks at 3 panel presentations. It's the first is where we are with water quality, and that's just giving everyone the basics information. And then the second panel is how did we get here? And that's when we'll have Dr. Chris Jones and Sonia Ayers speak with us about some of the things you heard already today. And then the panel 3 is what are we going to do differently? And what are some people doing differently? And then that's where Marianne, who's here tonight, that could share a little bit about what she's doing in a form of prevention.
Sure.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing Marianne into it. Marianne, I've been waiting to hear from you because I'm most fascinated by that whole idea of prevention and what kind of action can be taken by people other than just testing their water.
Great. Well, I served on a study group for Maiden Rock Township. I'm not a supervisor. I'm just a private citizen who started looking at this expansion of a massive dairy nearby and getting informed about the options. We brought in a woman named Lisa Dorr from Polk County who did some pioneering work in her community, working with 5 counties, creating up 5 townships in Polk County, creating operations ordinances. And the study group in Maiden Rock, we worked for about almost a year a group of citizens from all political stripes, all walks of life, small farmers, retired farmer, just a real kind of breadbasket of the community, right? And we concluded at the end of the day that the scale of these operations has exceeded the county and state's capacity to safeguard our public health. And that is where Lisa Doerr's operations ordinance come into play. It's not a ban, but it opens a process where the operator, the CAFO, has to address community concerns. And these are concerns that are not addressed by the county and state regulations that expose the community to very serious public health risks. And so, for example, a robust carcass removal plan is not part of the DNR's permitting process. And yet there are examples nearby down in Mondovi, Wisconsin, where in 2019, 4,000 hogs were killed in a barn fire. The only silver lining, if there is one, in that catastrophe was that it occurred in March and not in the heat of August, when summer temperatures would have, just exacerbated the situation. And it took the DNR several days to figure out what to do with those 4,000 hogs. So another example could be that as part of the DNR permitting process, there is no surety bond. So if the grower goes bankrupt, like occurred about a year ago, also over in Mondovi, where growers for pure poultry went bankrupt and 100,000 chickens were starving, and the mess is left for the taxpayers to pick up. So those are the kinds of tools that towns should be looking at, and what an operations ordinance can do for your township.
So it's a way to fill in the void of.
Yes, close those gaps.
All right, very good. Have we given everyone an opportunity to say what their role will be in this, and or give a reason why folks should show up for this? I mean, I think it's a call to action, and but also information, because I think ignorance is what will be the biggest enemy of clean water.
If I could interject one more thing, I do think I'll be speaking about what farmers are currently doing. So we have so many good farmers who are doing great things to protect their water, who are acting every day as stewards and finding ways to integrate agriculture into environmentalism. And so we'll be highlighting local examples of our farmer-led watershed groups, where farmers are encouraging and learning how to implement best management practices to protect their water. And we'll be highlighting other members of the Farmers Union who are providing food to the community in a way that is aligned with our environmental goals. And I think that's another really key way that folks can interact with this, is to support small farmers who are farming in the way that we all really wish our food system looked.
Yeah,
Jamie?
Yes.
If I could
Yes,
just
Steve.
say just a few words, because I really want to end my presentation on a high note. After I got to thinking about it, I've been working in water quality my whole career, both groundwater and surface water, seeing a lot of issues. But I got to tell you, on the good news side, I would bet over 95% of the issues I've dealt with in terms of water quality, groundwater and surface water, are predictable, which on the good news side means they're preventable. If they weren't predictable, they wouldn't be as preventable. So we really only have ourselves to blame, because we could prevent all this from happening.
Well, thank you for ending on a higher note, and also I'm sorry, Ms. Greiman pointing out that it's not that all farmers are bad. There are some good practices out there. Those are the ones that we want to encourage and try to emphasize that it can be done the right way. So I want to thank you all for coming here today and telling us about the event. Once again, I want to remind folks it's October 4th at the Camp Saint Croix RCU building, which is just across from the old dog track is where people know the area. I'm pretty soon, I'm going to be so old that if I refer to the old dog track, there's going to be people who don't know what I'm talking about. But Camp Saint Croix is a huge area, and anybody that sent their kids to camp knows where the YMCA is at. But I want to thank you all for putting this on. Thank you for your participation, and we will encourage folks to get involved. Let's also end it, whether it's Sue or any of our other speakers. Is there a website that folks can, maybe Kim, a website folks can get more information that just generally, because you're putting this event on. The last one was 2 years ago. The one before that was pre-COVID. So what can folks do that maybe can't make it on Saturday?
Well, fortunately, we will have it recorded. So we will be putting that out on our YouTube channel. And Saint Croix Cures will have a YouTube channel, and we'll put that out on our Facebook page, Saint Croix Cures Facebook page. And Sue, I think you have a website up and running, don't you?
We do. Our website is stcroixcures.org. And you should have some registration information on there. If you still want to register, you do not need to register to attend. Just stop in. We also will have free nitrate screening there. So you can bring your water in. And if you do have a filter at home, you could bring one sample of filtered water and the other from a different faucet that's unfiltered. And we'll have folks there from St. Croix County that will be helping with the screening on that.
And
Ultimately,
where's
I just
that
wanna-
at? Where can
that will
folks
be
bring
at-
those samples?
Those will be at the conference, at the forum, so at the
Okay, good.
RCU Center. So just stop in if they want to just do that and they don't have time to attend the conference or forum. I just want to
Okay.
stress that we think that everyone has a play or a role in this, and whether you live in the country or whether you live in the city, clean water is important for everyone, no matter where you stand on any political spectrum.
Excellent. Thank you. That's a great note to end on. Again, thank you all for being on the show. And I want to thank our viewers for watching and staying informed. Please get involved and help with, spreading the word so that folks know and have information about this very, very important issue. Thank you, and keep watching.